Alright, so 5, 5, 5, 4 is more factoring. Example 1. If I had 5x squared minus 5y squared. Alright, so you want to make sure you still look to see what does both of those terms have in common. 5. So I'm going to pull out a 5. And what's left? What's left in this term and this term? Yeah, so we have x squared minus y squared. Alright, now what we have to remember is if we have a perfect square and it's two terms, what happens is you're going to have one positive and one negative, so the middle terms would drop out. So our thing would be, we're going to bring that 5 down, but this is going to be the square root of x squared is x plus the square root of the second term, which is y. Then here we have x minus y. Now, make sure you always, this is our answer, but we can check to make sure that we would have got this back. So, first, x times x gives me x squared. Then outer here is x and a negative y is a negative xy. Inner x and y is a positive xy. And last, we have y times a negative y, which would have been a negative y squared. These cancel out. So we do have x squared minus y squared, which is what we had. So we know for sure that this is our answer. This is how you check it. Alright? So I just kind of run down in my head, but I just wanted to show you how to check it. So if you FOIL it out, you should always get back with what you have. Yes?
Why can't you just use 5 times quantity of x squared minus y squared?
Because that's not factored. These are factored. And so eventually what's going to happen is we're going to have it equal to 0 and we're going to set each term to 0. No, it's not. This is our answer. This is how I checked it to make sure. But this is our answer right here. So our answer is 5 times the quantity x plus y times the x minus y. No, not squared, because this is plus and that's minus. They're not the same. Alright, so let's do another one. Second one, example 2. So if we have 4x squared minus 36. Now, you might say, well, there's a 2 in common. However, is 4 and 36 perfect squares? Yes. So we don't want to pull them out because this is a perfect square. When we have a binomial and it's separated by a subtraction, we don't want to pull out what's in common if they're already perfect squares. So you take the square root. What's the square root of 2? Or 4? 2. Then we have x. Square root of 36 is 6. So it's 2x plus 6, 2x minus 6. If you multiply them out, remember, you'd get your 4x squared. Your inner is 12, your outer is negative 12, so those still drop out. So that's why we want one to be positive, one to be negative. Questions on that? On that part, on these ones. There's 2 types. So that's the first type. The second type, we'll have again our 3. So we have like x squared plus 9x plus 20. When you have 3 terms, you're still looking for what you can multiply to get this. So what 2 things multiplied together gives you x squared? X. So we're going to put an x there and an x there. This number tells me that I want 2 numbers that multiply together give me 20, that when I add them gives me a 9. 5 and 4. So 5 and 4. And it has to be positive, so they're both going to be plus. If there is no number in front of your A, you simply can jump to this. But what's going to happen is it gets a little bit more tricky. There's going to be a number in front of that A that we're going to go to, that because this is what we did on Friday. Now we got to jump one more thing that we're going to learn today. Last thing. Example 4. We have 12x squared plus 34x plus 14. This is not a perfect square root, so we have to see what do they have in common. Is there anything that 12, 34, 14 have in common? 2. So we're going to pull out a 2. 2 times what gives me 12? 6. And then we add our x squared. 2 times what gives me 34x? 17x. And 2 times what gives me 14? 7. Alright, so now I will tell you, you can go through and you can try to find, it's called guess and check, that you have to find 2 things that multiply together that gives you these numbers. But when you have a number here, if you have 6, what gives you 6? So it could be 3 and 2, or it could have been 1 and 6, right? And with 7, it could be 1 and 7. So that means the 7 could go here, or it could go here. So what happens is you would have to FOIL all these out to figure out which one it works. This is called guess and check. However, there is a method to finding it. However, if you prefer to do guess and check, you can. However, I will tell you that it takes a lot longer to do guess and check than the method that I'm going to show you. Alright, so this is called guess and check, and I will tell you that that's how I learned it, and we went through and we have to just guess and see if it would work. You put a 7 and a 1, and then you multiply it out and see if it works. But let's go the other way. The other way is to go say that this is A, this is B, and this is C. The exact same thing that we were doing, but it's just one more step. You still multiply A and C together. A times C. What is A times C? 6 times 7 is 42. And it's a positive 42, right? So we're looking for 2 numbers that multiply together that gives you 42, that when you add them gives you B, which is 17. Now you might say, well, I don't know what numbers they are, but that's okay. Then go through. 1 and 42. That doesn't work. 2 goes into it. 2 times what gives me 42? So that'd be 21. That doesn't add it together, doesn't give me that. What about 3? Does 3 go into it? 3 times what gives me 42? So you'd go 42 divided by 3, which gives you 14. That's it. So what you do is you take these 2 numbers and you rewrite this right there. So we're going to bring down our 2. So it has 6x squared. Wait, 42 is A times C. This times that. So you'll see if you don't get it yet. So you go 3, so you got 3x plus 14x plus 7. You'll watch how it unfolds. You take your first 2 terms. What does your first 2 terms have in common? A 3x, right? So you're going to pull a 3x out. What 3x times what gives me 6x squared? 2x. You look to see what the 2 is going to come down. If you want to do the guess and check, you can, but you'd have to keep guessing and checking. What does these have in common? 7. So, whoops, so it has 7, right? So we're going to pull out that 7. So 7 times 4, what gives me 14x? 2x. 7 times what gives me 7? 1. Now the last step. What does this and this have in common? 2x plus 1 is right. So we're going to pull out a 2x plus 1. What's here? What's left here? 3x. And over here is plus 7. So actually, if I would have factored this out, this one would have been the right answer. And then I just have to bring down my 2 because my 2 is still coming out in front. Alright, I want you guys, and I'm going to pass them out, but this is the first one of your first problems. I want you guys to try this one, which is your 43 on your homework. I'm going to give it to you in a second, but while I'm passing out your homework.
Oh, the back of this is in our homework?
No, the other one is that it's too difficult. We're going to come back to that. So we'll come back to the other side. This is factoring. 3b squared plus 8b plus 4. So I want you to factor this. So I want you guys to try to factor this. After I get these out, I'm going to come back and do this with you. We're going to go up to 57. All right, so, yep, you do all of them. You do the top part, and it, yep. Yep. Okay, so, okay, here we go. Eyes and ears now. Hannah, here we go. What, Hannah, tell me the first step. What's my first step? Okay, so look to see if there's a number that goes into all three of them. 3, 8, and 4. Yeah, but if it's 1, if it's at this time, if it's 1, you don't pull anything out. So, okay, so there's nothing that goes into all of them. So, Tony, what's my next step? So my next step is to go A, B, C, and we want to multiply A and C. So A and C is a positive 12, is right. All right. So Josh, what's my next step? I'm looking for two numbers that multiply together that gives me 12 that so does that make sense? So we're going to find two.
I can't hear you,
Tony. So you're looking for two numbers that multiply together that give you 12 that do what? Add to B, which is 8, right? So if you don't know what they are, literally go 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Huh? Add up to B. AC, and you're finding two numbers that multiply together that add up to whatever B is. So we're looking for two numbers that are going to add up to 8. So what ones work to 8? 6 and 2. So next step is to rewrite this using our 2 and 6. So it's going to be 3b squared plus 2b plus 6b plus 4. Emily M., what's my next step? Do you know? Yes, find the common factor of the first two. So what goes into 3b squared and 2b? B is right. So we're going to pull out a b. So if I pull out a b, I have b times what gives me 3b squared? 3b. b times what gives me 2b? Do the same thing to the other side. What does 6b and 4 have in common? A 2. Make sure you keep this sign, I will tell you, is the sign you're going to bring down. So you're pulling out a 2, we're pulling out a positive 2. So 2 times what gives me 6b? 3b. 2 times what gives me 4? 2. Marissa, what's my next step? We're going to see what is in common with this one, what's in common with that one. So what's in common with this versus that? Guys, you're not going to stand over there and talk. So what do we have in common here and here? 3b plus 2, right? They both have, so we're going to pull out the 3b plus 2. And what's left here?
Miss B, do you ever do this? Like, just because you want to do it? Yeah. Like, what do you? She does it at 3 a.m.
Yeah, I do it at 3 a.m.
Besides that.
You would do it for if you were an engineer and you need to know like weights of bridges and things like that. So if you're going into that field, and if you're going to college, you're going to need to know it because you have to take math in college. So what's left here is you have b, and then you have plus 2. Okay, after you take out your 3b plus 2, what's left here? B. After you take out your 3b plus 2, what's left here? A plus 2. Alright, let's try the next one. The next hard one. 44. We're going to, but I'm going to start with the hard ones because the easy ones you guys can do. But the hard ones you need me for.
Are we doing all these?
We're going to go up to at least, I said 57 before, but we'll see how well you guys work. I might cut it down by the end of the hour. So 44, I want you guys to try. So we have 9x squared plus 15x plus 4. So try the same exact thing. Won't do the whole thing out, but make sure everyone's on the right step. We have A, B, C. Carissa, what's my first step? What do I gotta do?
I like shot to see if you can take anything out of it.
Okay. Okay.
And then times A and 2.
Yep. Which gives me a 36. And then what am I looking for, just so that they know? Two numbers. Yep, so two numbers that multiply together, that gives me 36, that add up to B, which is 15. So that's what you're looking for. If you found them already, that's good. If not, that's what you're looking for. I'm going to give you a second to see if you can find those two numbers. And if you don't know, this is what I expect to be seeing on your paper. I expect you to be saying 1 and 36. 2 and what gives me 36? And keep going like that. 3 and what? So that's what I'm expecting to see on your paper. your phone right there. Because she didn't think I saw it. She thought she was sneaky, and I'm texting people, but I can't use my
I'm not
phone.
texting people.
You want me to read that?
Yeah, read it. Read out loud.
This? No, what you had. You had your text box open.
Does it say,
I have a phone
I
too.
love you very
I
much?
was actually not gonna lie. It was my mom.
I know, but you already did like, but I'm not texting anybody. Alright,
It's the mere help.
and then we'll come back to this.
Or maybe.
Well, this and this has to be the same, so this is red. Oh, you're pulling out a 3D. This has, you have to pull out the most.
Oh, okay.
3D. And, yeah, try that, and then we'll show you there. Alright, so, you guys found that you had 2, and what gives me 36?
All three.
So 2 and 18, and then 3 and 12. So these are the 2 that add up to 15. My next step is what? To rewrite this using 3 and 12. So I'm going to go 9x squared plus 3x plus 12x plus 4. What's my next step? Finding out what's in common with the first 2. So what's the most that you can take out of 9x squared and 3x? So we're going to take out a 3 and a x. 3x times what gives me 9x squared? 3x. 3x times what gives me 3x? Yep, that's right. Looking at the second one, we're going to pull out a 4, so we're plus 4. 4 times what gives me my 12x? 3x. 4 times what gives me my 4? 1. What's my final thing? Looking what's in common here and here. So 3x plus 1 is both. And then what's left? 3x plus 4. Now, remember that 3x plus 4, if you had it like this, it's the same exact thing. Because it's commutative, so this and this is the exact same thing, so it doesn't matter which one you write first, but because these are equal, it's just written differently. Alright, I want to do one more because it's with negatives, but I want to do the last one with you, and then you're going to try some on your own, is 45, which is 6y squared minus y minus 2.
Wait, so what's our homework?
To do as many of them that you can, up to, we'll see how you guys work if I cut it down more.
Wait, so we're starting at 36.
You're starting at the top. Yes, you're starting at 36. Yep. What? Okay, but it's not done yet. The class has still got 20 minutes left. I know. Right. We'll see. We'll see at the end of the hour. We'll see where you're at. Okay?
What's that?
We'll see where we're at. So you can't pull out a y because 2 doesn't have a y. So you're going to do the AC. So, yep, so now, very good. So when you do AC on this, and I'm not going to tell you all the numbers yet, but when you do AC, we're looking for 2 and negative 2, or 6 and negative 2 gives you negative 12. So you're looking for two numbers that multiply together that gives you negative 12, that when you add them, they get you what number?
1.
Negative 1.
Negative 1.
Because that's negative 1. So you're looking for two numbers that multiply together that gives you negative 12, that when you add them gives you negative 1. And what's it? Well, if I did 1 and 12, 4 and 3, if you did 4 and 3, which one's negative? Negative 4, because you need the bigger number to so it can be here, right? So it can be negative 1. All right. Go and say what two numbers.
Yeah, I got that.
Do you get the negative 4 and 3?
Yeah,
Oh, you get this?
Oh, of course.
Oh,
That's not the part I'm-
Oh, sorry. What's the next? What's the part you're confused? Sorry.
I don't know. They were last talking about asking just like that.
All I was saying is to make sure that the 4 is the negative because you need negative of 1.
Well, one of those need to be 1 and 12, one of them need to be
Oh, yeah, I know that. One of them just has to be negative to make it negative.
Yep. So one of them has to be a negative to get you negative 12.
Alright.
So it has to be negative 4 because we want it to be a negative 1. Negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1.
Oh, yeah, okay. If it was negative 3 plus 4 would be 1.
It'd be positive 1. Yep. You get that? All right. So this is the hint, ladies and gentlemen. If you, and it's always this, you have to make sure if you look at something and you say there's nothing in common, there's always a 1 in common. All right. So if you think there's nothing in common, there's always a 1 in common. So when we have this, we have 6y squared minus 4y plus 3y minus 2. What's in common with this? What's in common with 6y squared? So 2y, right? 2y times what gives me 6y squared? 3y. 2 minus 2. Very good. What's in common with 3y minus 2? What's in common? A 1. So you're going to pull out a 1. So plus 1. And what do you have left? 3y minus 2. Yep.
So the first two terms, you just pull out what's in common with them, and then you pull out the last two terms.
What's in common with the last two terms? Yep. So then what you're doing is what's in common with this versus this. So we have 3y minus 2, and this is 2y plus 1. All right? All right. Remember when you are doing the top ones to remind yourself, ladies and gentlemen, just to go back, when you go to 36, we've already done this in notes, but I just want to remind you, how do we do these? All you have to do when you're doing 36, you have two numbers you're looking for to multiply. X times what, or x times x gives me x squared, right? And then you take the square root of this. What's the square root of 16? 4. One's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. That's how all of the first ones are. So it's going to be the square root of the first and the square root of the last. One's positive, one's negative. That's how all of the first 6 are. First 8 are.
So what problems are we doing?
You're going to start at 36 at the very beginning, and you're going to work throughout the hour, and at the end of the hour I'll tell you what I'll cut off. Right now it's at 57, and I'll see where, if you guys work, I'll cut more off. But don't cross them off because we'll work on them tomorrow. But quickly, yes. Next. Oh, yep. Any other questions before I shut this off? All right.